Now you're welcome along to the football show. Latest goings on in the world. Bad night for Leeds United. Down to 10 men. Daniel James sent off early in the first half, and 2-0 down after 75 minutes against Chelsea is where we are at Ellen Road. We have a half-time from Molloy, and it's Wolves 1, Manchester City 3. Kevin De Bruyne's left foot scoring all 3 goals, and he made a point of giving his left foot an old slap when he scored the third. Pretty impressive hat-trick, in fairness, after 25 minutes, Kevin De Bruyne. Elsewhere, Frank Lampard, who was fist-bumping Everton fans from the bus window on the way to this game. 0-0 away to Watford is where we are after 67 minutes. And then 67 minutes also gone between Leicester and Norwich. It's 2-0 to Leicester. Very staggered kick-off times this evening. So most importantly, I suppose, Wolves 1, Manchester City 3 from the title race point of view. And in Scotland, all Celtic need to secure the league officially this evening is a draw away to Dundee United. They're on course to get that. 8 minutes to go. They're 1-1 with Dundee United. Rangers 2-0 up against Ross County. So you would think Celtic see that out for the next 8 minutes and secure the inevitable. Dion Fanning from The Currency here in studio. Hello.
Hey Joe, how's it going?
Kevin De Bruyne, eh? Always on the big nights.
Incredible. Well, yeah, but hasn't been taken off already by Pep.
Yeah. It's an impressive hat-trick.
Incredible hat-trick. He is a phenomenal player. And you do look at those moments, and I know he didn't have a great game that night in Madrid, but at the same time you think of extra time and you think of those big occasions when and he's not there. What City are lacking without him, because the goals tonight were extraordinary. The third goal is a phenomenal goal, really is. Like his strength and power, and then finish is exceptional.
Yeah.
So he is incredible player, and I think I don't think there was any much doubt about the where the Premier League was going, but I think this is kind of confirming it now.
I do find the brewing Kevin De Bruyne, has he done it on a big European night narrative which is unfolded this year, touch harsh. He's been amazing in lots of big games. His technique for the third goal, which I'm sure those of you listening will see in due course, his technique for the third goal with his left foot is genuinely better technique than a lot of Premier League players with their favourite foot.
Yeah. It's
phenomenal. Power, precision, technique, gorgeous.
But it's one of those, it's actually, watching it was kind of only at the third goal, and when it was pointed out, you realise that he scored all these goals with his wrong foot.
When he pointed it out.
Yeah, when he pointed it out. But you don't, because there isn't like the execution and the balance and everything is just so perfect that it's not even noteworthy.
So they're headed for 4 and 5 league titles, we would think. Liverpool played last night. Mane header to the rescue and Luis Diaz with the cross. So even just by dint of changes alone, in that Kanate came out, Robertson out, Thiago out, Jordan Henderson out, Mo Salah out, Robertson not even on the bench, and there was a sloppiness to the performance, and it's hot on the heels of an iffy first half in Villarreal and a sense of running out of ideas and verve maybe against Spurs. All of this would combine to give you the distinct impression that Liverpool are starting to run on fumes a touch. Is that what you're seeing in the general performance?
I think so. I think there are players who are getting them out of it. Luis Diaz, there have been Mane, obviously. These players who have been exceptional, but Salah was left on the bench last night. When he came on, he had a chance straight away that Salah at his best takes. And there is just that sense. There's been a number of games, like the Everton game, even which they went out and won. They got sucked into the kind of game Everton wanted them to play. Villarreal, as you say, I think they are in an exceptional season, and it is still an exceptional season for Liverpool. I think Klopp touched on it afterwards yesterday. Liverpool could be. If you don't want this situation, don't reach 3 cup finals. Yeah. And that's the price you pay for having all these matches, because their schedule now is ridiculous.
I have it here. Chelsea on Saturday, obviously, FA Cup final, big emotional day. 3 days later, Southampton. Southampton are on the beach a touch, so maybe not as difficult, but hard to get yourself up for it. And then after Southampton, 5 days break, Wolves, that's tricky. And then just 6-day turnaround. That's Wolves' last day of the season, of course. 6-day turnaround for Real Madrid, May 28. Very different to the 3-week rest ahead of the Spurs one, which actually was too much. But this is all very condensed. This is coming at them hot and fast.
It is. Now, we'll see. I suppose the one thing that might, if City win it on Sunday as well, will he decide that that's it now? Like that, there's very very little chance of catching them, although there's still a chance. So it's not something you. But I that's the one thing. But it is. It's relentless. I must say, like watching tonight and watching last night, though, it is. And I've kind of more or less completely forgotten about or blanked out what we kind of went through over the last 2 years in terms of like the boredom element of it. But like to be sitting on a summer's evening watching kind of really high level intense football in packed stadiums on those kind of May evenings, it's a kind of amazing feeling. It is kind of it kind of brings you back to all those kind of great watching European Cup finals, midweek European Cup finals, 30, 20, 25 years ago, like that kind of, just that atmosphere, that sense of it's all on the line. And I think whatever happens, it's been an exceptional season, but I do think Liverpool now are just, they're just trying to get there. Even things like Fabinho getting injured last night, he's out for every game now until maybe the Champions League final. They're the injuries you start picking up when you're trying to get a team out every week.
It does feel that way, and City this evening and even against Newcastle look absolutely fine. Pep Guardiola, by the way, I should be a happy man. I presume he's a happy man on the signing of Erling Haaland. So you picked out a clip. He was being interviewed about the money which has been spent, and frankly he's a bit sick of all the naysayers when it comes to City and money. Just have a listen.
For the people, it's just money. Okay, if you want to think about that, think about that. But I know exactly what I'm working here, and I said, okay, don't give me credit, don't give us credit, but let us give us ourselves credit, or as a manager, give to my players, to my staff and back to my staff.
Why do you think there is this snobbery around the money? Because it must have been the same in Spain. Real Madrid and Barcelona must have more money than Espanyol.
Listen, and when Liverpool in the 17 or 18s or United was who spent more money? Who spent more money?
What exactly in the 90s, Manchester?
It was Norwich. Norwich spent more money in that period, or which team? So Leicester spent more money than them? No, spent more money than the other ones. But the money from them is completely different than now.
So why is that?
I say I'm going to change it. So when we put here Etihad in our firm, it's overpaid. But now United and Liverpool or whatever is going to pay maybe more, they're going more because maybe deserve, because they're working well, because the CEO negotiated well, because whatever happened, there's more, because it's for United States of America or in other countries, or the owners are. So now it's perfect. So that's why it's going to change. It's for a long time, it's not going to change. That is the reality. The only way we can change is do it well on the pitch.
Thoughts?
What's making Pep so unhappy?
The lack of love, the lack of respect.
Why? Like, this is the second. If it's people are bitter about the money, they support Liverpool. I would start wondering, what is it about Manchester City that people just can't love?
What do you think the answer is to that?
Well, I don't know. What is it about Manchester City? What is it about this exceptional team? Maybe they do love it. Maybe we're blind to it. Maybe we're part of the mainstream media not giving them, not acknowledging the truth about Manchester City, and we're part of the conspiracy. But what is it when you watch? And I think they're very easy to admire. But why don't they capture the imagination? What is it about it? What is it about the entire project that makes people feel maybe it's all just a little bit too easy? Maybe it's just that. What do we need now? We've spent 100 million on Jack Grealish last year.
Yeah.
what we didn't get Harry Kane. We need a striker. We get the striker, and yet I watched BT last week talking about will they sign, won't they sign Haaland? And they were trying to inject the way BT do, that kind of like, isn't this thrilling that this club are going to, get this other piece, the final piece in the jigsaw.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong, but it didn't. To me, it didn't feel like it was thrilling. It didn't feel like. It's fascinating. It's interesting to see what he's going to do there, but it also seems it's kind of inevitable. And it's just another, like, Pep, the manager who kind of believes in almost a team without strikers, is now saying, give me a striker just in case.
Yeah.
So I'll just have that too because I can. So when you spend all that money, don't start complaining that people don't give you credit because of all the money you spend. Don't spend the money then. Like if it's such an issue, but of course the money in Manchester City is without a doubt the single most important factor in their success. It's the most important factor in many clubs' success. They've used it very smartly, but it is the most important factor. Unfortunately, the other factors that are present and where the money's coming from means that I think people find it a harder club to love. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would, if I was Pep, if I was sitting there listening to Pep saying that, I'd be wondering, why do you think, is it just this conspiracy? Why do you think people don't love Manchester City?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I don't think people would say of, say, Ferguson, because he referenced previous eras. I don't think people would say Manchester United, oh, well, that was all money. And yet, really, they were pretty much the biggest spenders. They would pluck the best talent from various other clubs. And so it was hugely based on money. Like, I mean, there's absolutely a grain of truth in what he's saying.
Yeah, I wrote about this in the Currency last weekend, and I was listening to Brian Robson being interviewed on the Quickly Kevin podcast last week, and he was talking about when he joined Manchester United, and they played a little clip about, again, it was one of those little kind of throwbacks of, he was signed, a few years before, and you could have bought Manchester United for 2 million, and then Brian Robson was joining Manchester United for 1.7 million. But he was talking on the podcast about how when he was at England, the Liverpool players were saying, come and join Liverpool, we're winning everything, you'll be great. But Liverpool would only pay 1.2 million for whatever, that was as far as they were going to go. There were always limits, there were always constraints, as there are at Liverpool today, as there are at other clubs today, which Manchester City would argue are there as well. They didn't go crazy and spend more money than they were prepared to spend on Harry Kane last year. Yeah. Haaland is fitting into the wage structure, they say, at Manchester City. That's great. I'm sure that they will keep a tight rein on that wage structure. Yeah. And but at the same time, they always now, especially since the financial fair play rules have gone wherever they've gone. It doesn't seem like that there's anything really to stop them getting around it, or to stop them spending. I should say, to stop them spending what they feel they have to spend.
Like, over the last 5 years, net spend, which I guess is the true marker, Liverpool are at 200 million sterling, and City are well over double that, 433 million sterling. So that's just a reality. If Pep bristles at that being mentioned, then that's very odd. I do think he has a point when he says, well, hang on, it's always been thus. The biggest teams have always spent more. Do you know what strikes me about City even over the last fortnight? Both anecdotally amongst football watching fraternity in my life, and even just on air here, I've talked more about Man City in the last fortnight than the rest of the season put together. And it's because for so much of the season, it's just, and this point has been made, why, beyond at this studio, I think a lot of people accept this. They're just so efficient, they kill games off so almost mechanically that there's not much to say about them week in, week out, aside from, geez, they're bloody good. Wonder how they'll go in Europe this year. And then we reach that point, and it kind of was thrilling and essential viewing and interesting, and we're debating the foibles of Guardiola and why is this falling short, and that's that's when it kind of was real. and entertaining. And then they beat Newcastle 5-0. Now they're beating Wolves 3-1. Normal service has resumed. So it's hard to fall over yourself to give them oodles of credit, because the best manager in the world with many of the best players and the perfect system have dispatched Newcastle. What are you meant to say at a certain point? People find it a touch monotonous and boring.
Yeah, and I guess, well, I accept your point about money always being a key factor, and it is more of a key factor now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And again, you come back to how Manchester City are funded and how they're built, and how they've been built, which changes the emphasis again.
And does that leave you cold, that model, as opposed to American?
Well, how would it leave you? How would you?
Sorry, as opposed to American venture
Well,
capitalists.
no, none of it is what you think sport should be.
Sure.
And professional sport, and I think this is probably the best thing you could say about Manchester City. Professional sport is always is grimy, and there is no golden age of owners. Like this idea, like
Jack Walker, Dion, come on.
Apart from Jack Walker, let's put Jack Walker on one. But whatever they were doing, like owners were all, like, whether they were exploiting players, whatever they were doing, there was always a friction between owners and other people who were actually involved in the game.
Yeah.
Manchester City, you could say, if you're a player playing for Manchester City, you're going to be a lot happier playing as a player playing for Manchester City than you might have been as a player playing for a club 60 years ago or something like that.
Well, let me put it this way: if they were owned by FSG, would you be otherwise disposed to them?
I think it's a different, it comes back to like the Newcastle Manchester City model. Is that where and we might get into this when we talk about Chelsea too. Like the American, the American billionaire model is now the kind of sustainable capitalism.
They're the good guys.
That's the kind of, that's the sort of sustainable way to run a football club. It is also a sustainable way to run a football club because of what's happened at Chelsea. And so for all, Manchester City, and Newcastle is a great example of this too, like the absolute lengths Newcastle supporters already go to defend their ownership. And, and the way they felt about, they felt they were entitled to this after what happened with Mike Ashley. If Mike Ashley had actually invested if Mike Ashley had run Newcastle in a different way to he ran all his other businesses, and actually just thrown money at it, they would have been out defending Mike Ashley's, the stuff that was being criticised in the House of Commons, the stuff the working practices that were being investigated and criticised. They would have been out there defending them.
Sure.
So, there's nothing really there's nothing to get excited about. I when you ask me which kind of business model do you get most excited? Would you get excited about? It's not really. It's not something you go to bed at night thinking what's the best business model here. But
the kids fall in love with these days. The first glance at the grass and their favourite business model. I suppose to boil it down, I'm wondering, is the not indifference or not coolness, but just that lack of whatever it is with Man City and so many people, is it down to the ownership model in your instance, or would it be there regardless? I think it kind of be there regardless.
What do you mean?
I just think I just don't think this team would still reach out and grab you or excite you regardless.
I don't know, because there would be something if it had been built.
If they were still spending that money, I mean.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. But I
still think if it was another oligarch before oligarchs were bad people.
Well, I think this debate was I can remember during the height of the Liverpool Chelsea Benitez Mourinho rivalry, when Benitez before a cup semi-final said the most important person at Chelsea is Roman Abramovich, which Mourinho obviously didn't like.
He knew what button to push there.
Yeah, but that was the same. Like, you listen to Pep.
Yeah.
in that clip, and he's responding to the same criticism. So it's always been there, and I guess like when Abramovich took over Chelsea, I suppose this was true at the beginning at City too. Maybe it is just it becomes too easy. There was a bit of there was some excitement at all the players.
Robinho.
Yes, City were going to take in, and at Chelsea that first summer, when they were signing Damien Duff, when they were signing all these players, it did have a level of excitement that, and I suppose there was that kind of jeopardy that Mourinho brought to it as well, because anything could happen, which you don't really think about Manchester City with Pep. You're going to know what's going to happen, as you said.
Well, it's really apparent anyway in the last even week that Guardiola feels totally maligned, and even I got a glance of it last night when we had Sam Lee from The Athletic on talking Man City. Even on Twitter, like the fans are just enraged with the lack of credit we're getting, etc. On Chelsea, you say you think they're in a bit of bother. So Todd Bowley, 48, American, part owner of the LA Dodgers, is fronting this consortium. So Clear Lake Capital. They have an office in Dublin, by the way.
Good.
They have currently over $72 billion worth of assets under management. It's a lot of assets. And investments across 300 different companies, and no other big sports company actually, but they're headquartered in Santa Monica and London, Dublin, Dallas, offices there. So what does this look like over the next couple of years? It's obviously not Roman handing over billions and not asking for the money back. So it's a very different Chelsea upcoming, I would think.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting about it. And again, it was interesting that there seemed to be, among again the Chelsea fans, you would see on Twitter there was a kind of idea of like, if there's a Saudi Arabia consortium mentioned, let's get them in because they're the ones who guarantee that or give the possibility of money being spent the way it was spent with Roman Abramovich. And it has to be said that the Roman Abramovich era at Chelsea is exceptional in that sense that he was the most important person at the club, and it was shrewdly managed, and he kept winning. He's like, no matter everyone was disposable, except for a few key people in executive positions, but everyone else could come in and come out. He still win European Cups, still won Premier Leagues. So it was, and it's not like there is a smartness, and this has to be said about Manchester City too. They haven't done it. They haven't spent their money stupidly. They've been very clever in their executive. Now I think sometimes they probably spent. I think Jack Grealish is a good example, and you saw it in Real Madrid where they actually probably spent money a bit more casually than clubs who don't have the same kind of money would spend or would spend it. But they haven't been stupid. No one could ever accuse them of being stupid. And the same is true of Chelsea. Now, having said that, it's interesting when you see the new owners coming in and what they're talking about is following, they're talking about analytics. They're talking about the Liverpool model. And again, go back to the, do we dream of at night of a league full of American billionaire capitalists owning football clubs? Like they are the two models that are taking hold. And that one depends on revenue. It depends on being smart in the transfer market, buying players and selling them on. The FSG model, which only has really worked, Michael Edwards, whatever, it has only really come into its own since Jurgen Klopp became manager. So this entire structure and everything, and it all was set there, and lots of people deserve lots of credit, but it was only really energised when Klopp came in. So they got that key figure in, and so Chelsea need to do that. But I think it is an interesting, what I would say, if you look at last year when the Super League was announced and Chelsea became the first club to pull out when the populist uprising, when Gary Neville led the populist uprising, Chelsea were very quick to pull out and weren't, we didn't really want to be part of this anyway because they could, because they weren't dependent on it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was happening this year or next year under this ownership, would they be as quick? Because the Super League, television revenue, all those things that clubs are always looking at ways of growing and expanding and feeling that they are shortchanged by anything that is a model that's kind of, they feel shares it out among the people who don't generate the revenue and the income that they do.
Yeah.
That is what they're depending on now, not an oligarch.
I think you're right. I think there'd be a Todd Bowley apology video quite hot on the heels of John Henry's. Kevin De Bruyne decided to score one with his right foot this evening. So it's Manchester City 4, Wolves 1. Somebody's saying here on Man City that they see them as soulless, dull, process-driven, fueled by endless resources. At least Ferguson's United had that panto villain quality to focus your hate on. I'm ambivalent to City and Pep at this stage, as a text in. Jamie Vardy has scored 2 goals tonight for Leicester. Now, I'm not so sure if we should be talking Wagatha Christie. Dion insists that of course we should. Am I insane? So Dion's going to win. We're going to short break and well, Lord knows where we're going to go after this. Now then, so Celtic are Scottish champions. They've drawn 1-1 with Dundee United. That point was all they needed, so it is a league title for Ange Postecoglou. Full time at Ellen Road, Leeds United 0, Chelsea 3. So bad night for Leeds. They are, needless to say, in big trouble. Leicester, with Jamie Vardy scoring 2, 3-0 winners against Norwich. Everton got a point away at Watford, which is no bad thing, not least given the result at Ellen Road. And it's Man City 4, Wolves 1, 66 minutes on the clock. We're talking Wagatha. Dion Fanning demands it. I don't even know. I mean, do we talk it? Do we not talk about it?
Why wouldn't you talk about it, Joe?
It's not.
What's wrong with you?
Sport, I suppose. Does it belong here?
But have we just been talking about financial models for football clubs? Is that sport?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's what kids dream of. We talked about that.
Yeah. I think there's probably more kids who dream of being Colleen Rooney.
It's extraordinary stuff, isn't it? Oh my God. Everything.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely.
There are aspects to this that just blown me away. For instance, I was about to use a word I shouldn't use. The loss of evidence, let's keep it that vague, is quite stunning. So for instance, here in the Telegraph, at the start of the hearing, Mrs. Rooney's legal team told the court there had been, quote, widespread and significant destruction or loss of evidence by Mrs. Vardy in the build-up to proceedings, including messages deleted. The court has previously been told how Miss Watt, that is Rebecca Vardy's publicist, agent, I suppose, Miss Watt's mobile phone fell from a boat into the North Sea within days of a judge ordering that it be handed over, while messages on other devices could not be recovered. So Mr. Sherborne, he's the legal team of Colleen Rooney, he accused Mrs. Vardy of carrying out manual deletion of messages, and the failure to hand over evidence accounted to the most extraordinary series of disclosure misfortunes. And he went on to say that the timing of the phone falling into the North Sea cannot be coincidental. To borrow from Wilde, to lose one significant set of documents may be regarded as misfortune. To lose 2, careless. But to lose 10, that must be concealment. So, wow, the chicanery here. I saw a tweet from one journalist covering it, and in fairness to him, it was very funny. I forgot his name, but so he started the day by saying, she was on the stand today, asked to confirm her name, Rebecca Vardy says, it's Rebecca Vardy. That was how the day started.
That was Jim Waterston, I think.
Yes. Oh, you're all over this.
Well,
okay.
He's No, I am. He's a great journalist. I think it's an incredible insight. Like, okay, it's got nothing to do with sport, but I don't understand. It's one of those stories where I think people are going to be fascinated by it. And you can then say, well, is this really what we should be talking about or whatever? But it's a kind of fascinating insight into how a world operates. And I remember reading the Piers Morgan diaries years ago when he either just left the Mirror as editor or whatever, or was still, I can't remember. Anyway, but there was those diaries. Now, obviously, it was Piers Morgan, and he was going to place himself at the centre of everything, no matter what. But I remember kind of innocently being struck by, this is incredible, like the amount of people he's actually he's dealing with, and who are, he's meeting Cherie Blair when she's, he's constant talking to these people daily. He's talking to football agents. It's just a constant flow, an exchange of information. These people who, like this idea of the kind of tabloids set up as the enemy is a kind of a fiction, because it's a much more complex and symbiotic relationship than that. And this is what this tells you. And this is what a case like this shows you as well, that those like the way these things work and the way they operate it's much murkier, and it's not as black and white as you often see from the the protestations especially on the evidence so far as what has come out on the Rebecca Vardy side of this. And I must say, this is down to be a 7-day case. I hope she's got a lot of good evidence coming in the last few days, because she's taken this case.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to be there.
No.
Jamie Vardy, fortunately for him, wasn't able to be in court because he's playing football. But maybe he'll be there for the rest of the week. I'd say he probably will be. But I think at the moment it's one of those cases where, okay, this is, I don't think people would be aware of those, like how those wheels turn so often.
That's a very good point. And if there's anyone who can get to the North Sea and find that phone, I think we'd all be very grateful. Mr. Sherburn, Colin Rooney's QC, so he's making the point to the judge, and is there a jury here as well? I'm not too sure what the burden of proof is, but he was certainly saying you don't have to be convinced, is what he reportedly said to the judge here. You don't have to be convinced beyond reasonable doubt. You just have to conclude it's more likely than not that Mrs. Vardy was responsible, either directly or through her agent, Miss Watt, for passing on the information to the papers. And so what he's doing effectively over the last 24 hours in particular is trying to illustrate this symbiotic relationship that you're talking about. So the Danny Drinkwater story, for instance, caught the eye of everybody, his drink driving case. And so it said that Rebecca Vardy sent the information on Drinkwater's night in the cells to her agent, Caroline Watt, along with a WhatsApp message that said, "I want paying for this, X." When told the Sun newspaper already had got the story from the arrest from a source at the police station, Vardy said she was, quote, "fuming, I didn't give it to you earlier." Watt replied to say there would have been a fortune, end quote, and instead suggested finding out where Drinkwater lived and sharing the information with the paparazzi agency Splash News. And so Sherburn, the QC, is saying this is an established pattern of behaviour. And then there was the Mahrez story, for instance, as well.
The lads are fuming.
Yeah. Court heard accusations Vardy leaked private information about her husband's then teammate Riyad Mahrez to the media in 2018, potentially destabilising the player's club, Leicester City. In messages shown to the court, Vardy told her agent, "Mahrez not turned up to training again. The lads are fuming," is what Vardy told her agent. And then Watt suggested contacting a Sky Sports report. You just wouldn't think of Miss Watt contacting Sky Sports reporters, but again, this industry, as you said, is far more complicated and intertwined. But Vardy replied, quote, "I don't want it coming back to me." Watt then said, "I can tell someone," to which Vardy replied, "Yes, do it." And Sherburn pressed Vardy on whether her husband was the source of the messages about Mahrez. And she insisted, "Jamie and I never discussed whether the lads were fuming."
Well, there you go.
So,
you see, and that is the thing, and it isn't just about whatever, the and the Drinkwater one. Was that, I think, is that the one where her response was, she said she didn't think any more about it. She may have said that, but she wasn't. But there's also then this sense of, and this is a kind of, that relationship, that relationship people have with the media in general, and that like it is such a corrosive thing in so many ways, because she may or somebody in a similar situation, let's just put it like this, as may kind of think, right, I may or may not get money for this, but I will also this also buys me goodwill.
Yes.
And I will now have a relationship with these newspapers and these journalists who give me these stories.
It's all a touch grimmer than I had even dared to presume, actually.
It's pretty funny too, Joe.
Yeah. It's pretty. Well, there is that. Babe, has Colleen unfollowed you? OMG, I just saw, wow, what a C. The QC's having to tell the judge what FFS means and read out all the languages. I would think quite something. It's a pity we're only getting drawings here.
It is, yeah. It's was it David Cameron when he was at the wasn't it what was it called? What was the press inquiry? Jeez, it's gone out of my head. The big
Chilcott?
No.
Sorry, that's Iraq.
And he was his text to Rebecca Wade, and he thought that LOL was lots of love when he was texting Rebecca Wade.
Yes.
What was that? Anyway, but it's I think it's it's. I don't know if it's it's just
Leveson.
Leveson, but it's not. I think it's it is something that is entertaining too, in the terms of, I don't think people looking at this are going to be entertained by this, whether it's seedy in terms of, like, it does seem, it is as I've said, amazing that Rebecca Vardy would feel that this is the case. And I think everybody has said this all through the legal arguments. They've all said why this really shouldn't be going.
I wonder, did anyone advise her? You're going to have to hand over your phones here. Like, this is going to be a deep dive. I suspect she felt, following the "it's Rebecca Vardy" moment, she had no choice but to come out and strenuously deny this, because it was just so damaging.
And do you, maybe at that point, you think that you can actually persuade people of anything, or you are so used to being listened to or told
perhaps.
Perhaps.
I don't know how strategic it was. Maybe it was let's just muddy the waters sufficiently.
It's a lot
fake
of
news.
Like, there
was a record-breaking crowd at my inauguration. Let's just strenuously deny.
We'll see how it goes, but it's a lot of money even for
2 million
Premier League footballers to be
2 million.
Yeah.
Costs. Yeah. So it's going to be done in a week. They had to retire early today because a fire alarm went off. So Rebecca Vardy's back tomorrow.
Good.
Colleen Rooney hobbling in her boot.
Wayne never is there.
Wayne's taking the stand as well.
Is he?
Yeah. Jamie not. Wayne yes.
What's Wayne got to?
Well, Dion, I suspect we'll be talking about it. I don't know what he's got to offer, but
I didn't know that. God, this gets better and better.
Oh dear. So, the latest at Molloy, 4-1 Manchester City. Football show coverage brought to you by Sky. Spurs Arsenal tomorrow, live only on Sky Sports. We'll take a very short break. Damn, we never had time for the Michael Owen NFT story, which is a damn pity. We'll come back to that at some stage. Google it if you don't get it. If we do, it's worth a Google. It's worth a Google.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner of the women's national football team. Out believe together, and we can go anywhere.
DoneDeal has the largest range of electric vehicles in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find MSL Mercedes-Benz dealerships on DoneDeal. Stop by MSL Mercedes-Benz dealerships on DoneDeal today and connect with them for great deals on electric vehicles. DoneDeal, for electric vehicle deals to feel great about from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
Interested in investing but don't know where to begin? A great place to start is Bank of Ireland's new webinar series, Invested. You can learn about investing with live webinars, guides and insights from industry experts. We know you've worked hard for your money, and with our expert support, it can work harder for you. So don't rest it, invest it. Visit bankofireland.com/invested. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Ireland is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc, trading as Bank of Ireland Life for life assurance and pensions business. Members of Bank of Ireland Group. Bank of Ireland trading as Bank of Ireland Insurance and Investments is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Guaranteed Irish business members continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland.
There's a name you may not know behind many Irish business successes, like helping delivery pizza arrive on time or navigating the property market online. It's GeoDirectory, Ireland's leading data intelligence expert. See how our powerful data toolkit can help you verify addresses, identify opportunities, and win customers. Visit geodirectory.ie today.
And look out for the G. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Ellen, write what you want to be when you grow up on the blackboard.
Ellen, remember to sign up for the swim team. Ellen, all competitors must register today.
Alan Keane has written a name into the history books by winning gold for Ireland!
Nothing is written until you write it.
Ellen, can I have your autograph?
You write it, we underwrite it. Allianz, proudly supporting Paralympics Ireland since 2010.
Paddy, I go, what? It was Paddy Andrews. I go, yeah. As he goes, this is James' house. He's upstairs. Will I get him?
The Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue are bringing the show on the road. The first stop for Ireland's biggest and best GEA pod will be the Royal Theatre in Castlebar on Thursday, June 2nd, as Paddy, James, Tommy and special guests dissect, analyse and celebrate Mayo football, as well as getting stuck into the runners and riders for Championship 2022. Tickets are €20 plus booking fees and are on sale now. See otbsports.com/events for more.
Short family holiday? Relaxing getaway? Go Breaks will find you the best hotel deals. And with our incredible spring offer, you can save even more. Get €20 off when you book a 2-night stay in one of hundreds of 3-, 4- and 5-star hotels across Ireland from just €75 per night. Use code GOBREAKS20 and book by May 31st. T's and C's at gobreaks.ie. Go experience. Go explore with Go Breaks.
Go Breaks. At AppliancesDelivered.ie, we go big on televisions. All the big brands like LG, Sony, Panasonic and Samsung, all sizes from the big to the massive. But right now, the savings aren't big, they're ginormous. Get up to €400 off big brand, big screen TVs at AppliancesDelivered.ie. We'll even deliver to your door. That's the only thing that's no big deal. If it's online, it's in stock, with next day delivery across Greater Dublin. Proud part of Expert Electrical. AppliancesDelivered.ie. See it, buy it, get it tomorrow.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. All the football you love in one place. Across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Welcome back. Okay, so the truth is, it's all we talked about during the air break.
It really is.
So I guess, I don't know, is it a slot, a nightly slot, the 8:40 every night? Is that? Are you willing to be that guy for us?
I'll do it.
Man City seeing this out. They're 3 goals to the good. We are pretty much done for the evening. So OTB AM tomorrow morning. Jaron Ashleen on from 7:30. Amongst others, Tomás O'Shea will be on the show. Ronan O'Gara will be on the show. So that's very much worth tuning in for tomorrow, 7:30. All our social channels and the usual places. You can podcast all of tonight's show with David Clifford on. And we had Wednesday Night Rugby as well. Keith Wood and Fiona Hayes with us. And of course the football show this evening. We are in talks over a bonus Wagatha Christie nightly edition, 45 minutes in depth. Dion will do the voices. It will be quite something. So keep your eyes out for that. Dion, thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Tom Dunn on the way.